What's going on, guys? So a lot of you all have been sleeping on bards. Bards are super fun and they're incredibly underrated. Now, I know for the most part tier lists are kind of BS and really just one dude's opinion, but even so, looking at all the tier lists I looked at, I never saw bards even mentioned, or if they were on B tier or C tier, which I think is just flat wrong. What sparked me to make this video in the first place was one of my friends told me, literally said, why would you ever play a bard? And that got me thinking, well, there's probably other people in the community that feel the same way. I used to really think bards weren't that great either. I thought they were kind of like a meme character, but I was super wrong. Once I realized how amazing bards are, I don't think I will probably ever do a playthrough without at least one bard in the party. Right now, my party has two bards in it. One is a full bard, the other one is a multi-class. But yeah, bards are awesome. So hopefully by the end of this video, you guys will realize why I say bards are so OP. So let's jump into it. So I think the Baldur's Gate Wiki does a pretty good job at summing up what bards are. Bards are expert storytellers, artists, and performers. Bards channel their power through song, speech, or performance to cast spells, and bards use charisma as their primary ability score. Because bards' main ability score is charisma, this makes them an ideal candidate for being the face of your party. They are also a full caster, which means they can learn up to level 6 spells and have access to a lot of great utility spells like Longstrider, Featherfall, and Hold Person. Bards also get access to a unique charge called Bardic Inspiration charges, which lets you add a d6 to one of your allies' next attack, ability check, or saving throw. Now, this does scale up later on in the game if you stick with playing a bard, but it does start off at a d6. This comes in really handy if there are any hard ability checks that you're trying to pass, or if you're just trying to give an ally a little extra chance to hit, or have them pass a dangerous saving throw. What makes his skill borderline OP is the Cap of Curing, which you can get in a locked chest next to Alfira and the Druid's Grove. This will allow you to heal an ally 1d6 anytime you use Bardic Inspiration. While the heal itself isn't that great, it's incredibly useful at picking up downed allies, and it only uses a bonus action opposed to using a full action with help. Bardic Inspiration gets even stronger at level 5 when you get access to Font of Inspiration, which allows you to regain all of your Bardic Inspiration charges on a long or short rest. At level 2, Bards get Song of Rest, which is probably one of the most busted abilities in the game. This just straight up gives you another short rest that you can replenish when you long rest. At level 2, they also get Jack of all trades, which allows them to add half of their proficiency bonus to ability checks that they are not proficient in. This is another really good reason to have a bard as your front man or woman. At level 3, bards get their subclass like most of the other classes. College of Lore allows you to get proficiency in 3 skills and grants access to cutting words, which allows you to give an enemy a d6 penalty to their attack roll, ability check, or saving throw as a reaction. This subclass is really just kind of okay. I wouldn't go this subclass unless your party is going for a heavy status effect setup and you want to have a better chance of enemies failing those saving throws. The Bard's second subclass is College of Valor, and I think it's the weakest of the 3 specializations, and there's not really a reason that you should pick this. All it does is change your Bardic Inspiration into Combat Inspiration, which you can use your Inspiration charges to grant attack damage in addition to the other effects, but it caps at a d10, which is really not that much extra damage. It also grants proficiency in medium armor, shields, and martial weapons, but if you really want to be a tankier bard, you're better off just multi-classing into a fighter or a paladin. The third option that you can choose is the College of Swords, and it's the clear winner for the other subclasses, and I don't think it's really that close. This subclass is part of the reason why bards are so OP. College of Swords grants access to Blade Flourish, which has 3 different modes, each with their own ranged option and melee option. The first flourish is Defensive Flourish. This performs a regular attack, which does a bonus 1d6 damage and increases your AC by 4 if you hit. This is a situational flourish, but it's really good if you're out of position or you know you're about to have the enemy swing on you. The second flourish is Slashing Flourish, and this is the one you're going to probably use the most. This allows you to perform either 2 melee attacks or 2 ranged attacks with 1 action. When I first read this ability, I didn't really think it was that strong, but once I realized that you can use the second attack to target the same target, I realized how busted this ability is. This is especially strong if you multiclass into a paladin, as if both slashing flourishes hit, it allows you to smite twice, doing a ton of burst damage in one turn. The final flourish is mobile flourish, which is another situational one, but it's still pretty good. This allows you to hit an enemy and just knock it back. But you can do some pretty fun things with this, like knock them off a cliff, knock them into some fire, knock them into some grease, etc. If the hit connects, you get a free action which allows you to teleport to them. This is really strong if you're playing a ranged bard, as it can allow you to reposition should the enemies get too close for comfort. Lastly, College of Swords Bard also grants proficiency in medium armor and scimitars, or scimitars. I'm not really sure how to actually pronounce that. The swords that Dritz uses. And it also grants a fighting style of either dueling, which adds 2 base damage to a one-handed weapon if you are not using another weapon in your other hand, or 2-weapon fighting, which allows you to add your ability score modifier to your offhand weapon. Now, I'm not going to go line by line for every level 1 through 12, as that would be really boring, and you can just read that on the wiki. And just in case you don't have the website, I'll post it in the comment section of this video. But what we will go into is what makes Bards super OP, and that is multiclassing. Now, while Bards are perfectly fine to take all the way to level 12 as a pure class, I believe that they really shine when they're multiclassed. My 2 favorite classes to multiclass with Bard are Paladin and Ranger. I'm going to go over briefly how to make and play these builds, but I plan on releasing a full build guide on these in a later video. The reason Paladin and Bard work so well together is because Bards are full casters, so they get access to a lot more spell slots than half casters like Paladin itself or Rangers. They're also both charisma casters, so it makes it pretty easy to multiclass them together. So what this means if you go this route is this is just more spell slots to smite with. And with Slashing Flourish, you get multiple attacks in one action, and that means multiple smites in one action. This setup is incredibly tanky because you have access to heavy armor, and you're able to deal a ton of burst damage due to smite in conjunction with Slashing Flourish. For this build, you want to start off as a paladin to have access to heavy armor. You want both strength and charisma to be relatively high, and dex and con to be decent, as you're going to be frontline, and therefore you will likely get hit. Also, on a side note, dexterity is one of the most common ability saves in the game, so you almost never want to dump this stat unless you want to go last in combat, as dexterity affects initiative, or you want to just auto slip in grease, as grease is a dexterity save. So you don't really want to ever dump this stat. Ever, really. You can dump intelligence and wisdom in this build, though, because we're not going to really use them. You're going to take 2 levels of paladin and then swap to bard and put most of your levels there. You have a couple options once you get a few levels under your belt. One option is you can take bard all the way to level 8 and then take 2 levels of fighter to get action surge. The other option is you can take Warlock level 5 to get Packed Weapon, which will allow your weapon damage and attack rating go off of your charisma instead of your strength. If you decide to go this route, then you can drop your strength a little bit and redistribute those points into dexterity and con. The rest of the levels would then go into Bard. The second multi-class I really like is Bard and Ranger. This build is really strong because we make use of Slashing Flourish, which allows us to attack multiple times. Combined with Gloomstalker's Dread Ambush and Elixir of Bloodlust, this will allow us to fire off a whopping 11 attacks on turn 1. This will allow you to take out multiple enemies on turn 1, sometimes ending the whole fight before the enemies even have a chance to go. For this build, you're going to want to start as a bard, so you start the game with a hand crossbow. And you'll want to get a second hand crossbow as soon as you can to put into your offhand. Damien and the Druid's Grove will randomly have a regular hand crossbow or a +1, so it'll be pretty easy to get, and you can get it pretty early. Once you get your hands on a second hand crossbow, you'll want to respec to Ranger. You will take Ranger to level 4, and then you will take the Sharpshooter feat here. This gives a ton of damage to bows. We are a bow build, so naturally you're going to want to pick archery as your fighting style. We are going to eventually want to respec into Ranger 3 and Bard 9, but don't feel the need to respec right away unless you really want to. This is just more for min-maxing. The earliest I would recommend respecking is once you reach Bard level 4, as to not delay your first feat. Bards are really OP. They're super fun, they're very versatile, and they're just really underrated. I feel like they don't really get much love in the community, and they're a really good class. These two builds are probably two of the strongest builds I've discovered in the game. Hopefully you'll agree with me when I say that Bards are OP. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing, as it does really help with the YouTube algorithm. I make weekly content on various gaming topics like gaming reviews, build guides, things like that. Till next time, have a great day/night. See ya.